My fellow bad guys, I, Lex Luthor, your leader, will speak now about my, Lex Luthor's plan. My villainous plan. Question the plan at your peril.
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes. Now, it's been all the rage all over the YouTubes that Seth Rogan and Sarah Silverman's Santa Inc. Series on HBO Max has not been received very well. Now, me personally, I haven't watched this. I'm quite certain Aaron Sparrow, my guest here, hasn't watched it either. If you do know Aaron, it's probably because he is the man behind Darkwing Duck, at least when he was at Boom Studios and Joe Books. And he's also a writer on season 4 of Young Justice on HBO Max as well. How you doing, Aaron?
I'm doing great. It's a beautiful rainy day here in California, and I love it. We don't get that many, so I'm gonna enjoy it while it lasts.
It's very rainy here in the Philippines as well. Somehow it's gotten cold. I'm so climatized that I think 82 degrees is cold. I feel weak.
Man, 82 degrees, like it. That's a nice day here. You know, it's like, oh, thank God it's not sweltering hot.
Yeah, it's I don't know what happened to me. I used to live in Alaska, but that is not what this video is about, Eric. So you haven't seen Santa Inc. either, have you?
No, I did see the trailer, but I have not watched the show.
Did the trailer at least look good?
I did not. The trailer is not my cup of tea. I don't like things that feel mean-spirited. And that's kind of how the trailer came across to me. So I had the opinion of like, oh, this isn't for me. Also, I have a lot of reverence and love for Christmas and Christmas time. It's my favorite time of the year. I absolutely love it. I love Christmas movies. I love the sentimentality of them. I love I love a good happy ending. Those things appeal to me. So doing a mean-spirited Christmas movie and then, working in current day politics, talking about toxic masculinity, et cetera, not going to be something that you're going to get me to tune in for.
Yeah, I mean, I'm watching all these Christmas specials with my boys, but I heard enough about it. I was like, I don't think I'm going to play that one with the 6-year-old. Even though I do have HBO going, it is available to me. So we can't really talk about the series itself, other than we can acknowledge apparently it has not been well received, I guess, as one of the lowest ratings ever in IMDb history. But that's not really our concern. I'm not interested in Santa Inc., to be completely honest, but I am interested in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I know you're interested in Darkwing Duck.
Yeah, Darkwing Duck and Ninja Turtles, both very dear to me. So it is concerning when you see.
And Seth Rogan I believe he's supposed to be the producer on both of those projects that are supposed to be coming out. I don't know. It's been so long since Seth Rogen really had a big hit. I remember last time I saw anything that he did, I went and saw, what was it, Sausage Party, which I thought was going to be really funny. And I was all excited. I went to the Alamo Draft House. Mm-hmm. So I paid for the more expensive tickets. I was going to get lunch and all that stuff, but I remember not laughing. It's maybe the first 10 minutes, and then when I realized what the show was, it just wasn't funny. I don't think he's really done anything of note since then, but he keeps getting all these opportunities on these beloved franchises that a lot of people, they're near and dear to their hearts. Like, why does this keep happening? Why aren't people that love these characters in charge of these properties instead of people that want to use them as agendas and platforms?
It's strange. It just kind of boggles my mind to think of, like when you sit down as an executive and you say, who are we going to put in charge of this kids property, this evergreen kids property that, is we could, just merchandise for years and years and years, like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and to a lesser extent Darkwing Duck, because it hasn't just, although I think Darkwing Duck definitely has the potential, it just hasn't been done the way that, Ninja Turtles is always refreshed and always kept alive, and Darkwing hasn't been. But it's interesting to me that you would sit down and think that either of those properties would benefit from the opening scene being from the creators of Sausage Party. It just seems like it seems really odd to me that's the go-to. Now, granted, people are capable of doing, working in different genres and doing like different things. I think Seth's brand has long time been the lowest common denominator comedy. Just the easiest
dick
joke.
And fart jokes and weed jokes.
Yeah, and I think that, for me at least, and it seems, just based on kind of the way that Santa Inc. is being received, it seems like the majority of people are kind of over that. It's all been done. I don't know what dick or fart joke you can do that's going to be new and that's going to blow my mind and make me laugh. Like, I don't think that there's anything there. So that's long been his brand. And, for the most part, he's been kind of stuck in it, kind of doing, these vulgar kind of comedies. And even shows that he's been involved with recently, like The Boys, still large element of vulgarity to that show, violence, hyperviolence and hyper vulgarity. And I think that's what's turned people off about Santa Inc. is, you can do a movie like Bad Santa, but it's only going to appeal to a certain amount of people. It's not really going to be a holiday classic. But even Bad Santa had like a happy ending and kind of like...
there's a bit of charm to that movie and the way that it rolls out, and that he essentially discovers that he still has humanity because of this kid that he was basically making fun of at the beginning.
Yeah, so that you can do that and you can make it work, but I think that everybody just kind of saw the trailer for Santa Inc. and just maybe felt like I did. It's like, oh, this just seems really cynical and mean-spirited, and that's not what I want in my Christmas. Especially now with the world the way that it is, and everybody feeling kind of feeling all this anxiety and the pandemic and politics and et cetera, et cetera. More than ever, people want escapism. So when you give them a Christmas show that is just mired in the politics of the day, and that's not going to fly. So he may be capable of doing something different with Ninja Turtles, with Darkwing Duck. I'm not going to say that he can't. I'm not going to say that depending on what talent he has working on the show with him, that it might but it doesn't have a chance of being good. But it seems counterintuitive to me that there are people who love these properties and who could really step up to the plate and do a good job, and they don't get the call, whether it's in comics or television.
Yeah, it's strange. And I think people are absolutely over the incorporating of modern day propaganda, ideology, social commentary that is very heavy handed into everything. There's a time and a place for this stuff. There are platforms, there are avenues to put this stuff out. Santa Claus ain't it. TMNT ain't it. Darkwing Duck ain't it, and we certainly found out Masters of the Universe ain't it.
No, it definitely divides the fans, and it makes your product radioactive. You look at a show like, what's interesting about Darkwing Duck in particular, that handing it over to Seth Rogan, is that feels like a very corporate decision. Some executive saying like, oh, well, Seth Rogan's a name, and then handing it over to him. Obviously, you could hand the show to me, and I'd give you a killer show, but nobody knows who it's like nobody knows who I am. I wrote a comic book. Nobody cares. But they had a perfect team in place to deliver a Darkwing Duck show. The DuckTales show had a backdoor Darkwing pilot all set up, throughout their seasons, ready to go. They were building kind of a Disney afternoon shared universe with the DuckTales show. Frank Angones and Matt Youngberg. They had everything in place, and Disney could have just rolled into that show, and who knows why they didn't. Internal could be a million things. Could be internal politics. Could be people moving on. I don't know what the story there is, but it seems like that was all set and ready to go, and it was all in their lap. And instead, they were like, "Nah, you know what? We're gonna give it to the creators of Sausage Party."
Yeah, it's crazy. And talking about Masters of the Universe, obviously. I guess Kevin Smith has decided it's his brand to just kind of go after the fans of the property, even though he said, himself before he got the gig that Masters of the Universe and He-Man just wasn't his thing. He wasn't really into the property. But as soon as he was the writer, he's the arbitrator and the overseer of the character, and he gets to make all these decisions and gets to condemn people. It just hasn't worked out. It sounds like there was some interest in the first season out of, I don't know, let me see the car wreck kind of thing, can I turn my head? But now that the second, part of it's out there, there's no buzz whatsoever because nobody even cares at this point.
And that's really unfortunate. We don't know what the internal numbers are, but it didn't seem to hit the second season or the second half of the season didn't seem to hit the top 10. Nobody's really talking about it except kind of dismissing it. I will say at PowerCon this year, I ran into Ted Biaselli, who's one of the producers on the show, guy at Netflix. Really nice guy, first of all. Just absolutely loved talking to him. Super enthusiastic, big He-Man fan. And when we were talking about it, I told him, I said, I think you had a good story. I think the core of the story was really, really good. I said, if you're asking my opinion, There are a lot of tweaks that I would have made and gone in different directions as showrunner than Kevin did. And I think that story could have been satisfying if these things would have been nailed. I think that you could have not divided the fandom. And he was really receptive to that and hearing what I had to say and everything. It was a really good conversation. So, you forget a lot of the times that there's human beings behind this, and people can make mistakes, and things can get out of your control, or things can go in a different direction than you intended. There's all kinds of different things that can happen. But some of the people that work behind the scenes on these things are doing their best and are trying to deliver a really good product and what they think fans might want. And for whatever reason, it just doesn't work out. So that was kind of my experience with Ted. Is I told him, I said, there was a way to do this, I think, that would have satisfied everybody. But I just don't think Kevin was the guy. And I think a lot of that stems from the fact that Kevin Smith clearly didn't care about He-Man going into it. I don't think you always need to know everything. You don't have to have started out as a fan. Look at Robert Venditti, one of your and my favorite writers. Didn't know anything about Hawkman. Went and learned about Hawkman, found the things that fascinated him about it. These are the things that are interesting that I can dig into, and delivered a kick-ass Hawkman book. Yeah, but you got to have the passion. You got to care. You got to care enough to invest yourself in the characters.
Well, and one of the other things I think that we're seeing is when we see like a Seth Rogan or a Kevin Smith, they're almost downgrading themselves to working on these beloved like 80s and 90s kids properties, is they come with a fan base, and they come with a very passionate fan base for these characters and the stories in these universes. And they think, well, I'm Kevin Smith. You're not allowed to have a criticism. Or I'm Seth Rogan. I'm the guy that did what did he do? The Superbad. You're not allowed to have opinions about this stuff. I'm the guy from Superbad. And then they end up degrading and talking down to the very fans that they need to please, and it just makes such a bad situation worse.
Superbad would not fly with me as any kind of street cred, because I walked out of that movie about a half hour into it. I walked out and I demanded my money back. So that I'm the guy that created Superbad is not gonna fly with
it me. Made money. It
did make money. Because that at the time, the lowest common denominator comedies were kind of all the rage. But I think that they're, like Meet the Millers and, or We're the Millers or whatever that one was. Walked out of that one too. But it's just one of those things where it was like, that was the rage at the time, but that doesn't go on forever. And if you're still just stuck in that mode and that's all that you have to offer, and then you deliver something like a Santa Inc. and people perceive it to be, just another vulgar, mean-spirited, jab at tradition, then and things that people love about Christmas, that's why it's going to get the backlash that it's going to get.
Well, but you can't call your fans or the fans of the property or potential customers, they're just all Nazis. They're all white supremacists. Like, are you kidding me?
You live in that bubble where you don't meet any regular people. All you meet is Hollywood people. All you meet is people in LA. You get into that bubble and you really do. Your world becomes small. And I think that's the problem with everybody from, with everybody who paints people with a broad brush and starts to define people. I think that's the problem. Whether you're some small isolated racist and you don't like the gays, because you just haven't met enough of them. Your world is small. Your world is tiny, and you have a very small worldview. And that's unfortunately what happens in Hollywood too. To the opposite degree, is they get into this very small kind of very far left worldview, and they stop meeting regular people. They stop thinking of people as regular people. I'll talk to anybody, and that gets me in trouble a lot of times because I get people who are like, I can't believe you're talking to this person. But that's the way that you reach common ground. That's the way that you stop this divisiveness that we've got going on, not only in just our regular culture, but in pop culture. Is you have to be able to have discussions, and you have to recognize the inherent humanity of the other person that you're talking to, even if you disagree with them. So, it's like I'm always going to try to talk to everybody and to, have an open door policy when it comes to people. And as long as you're polite and you're cordial, we can have a dialogue, even if we disagree.
What's crazy, now that you bring that up, there's somebody out there. I know that you have a relationship with him, or at least you have to. Greg Berlanti. I see him all the time on social media, and he gets a lot of criticism, or he gets questioned on a lot of his creative decisions with the animated properties that he's working with. But he always speaks to the customers politely. And he'll answer the questions if he has an answer. And if there's no common ground, he's like, I'm sorry you didn't enjoy it. But he never denigrates him. He never name calls, and he never just says, you know what, you're stupid.
Well, that's the difference between being an adult and being a child. You know, a child reacts with emotion, an adult reacts with logic. And, you know, someone comes to me and they're like, hey, I read your Darkwing Duck book and I thought it sucked. You know, like I have one, like I don't get a lot of that because my Darkwing Duck book was amazing. But I did have one guy. I don't get a lot of criticism, and I don't know if that's because I'm affable and people just generally kind of find me easy to talk to, so they don't come at me hard, or I'm just really good, or nobody's read the stuff. Those are the three options. So, but I had one guy. I wrote a Devil May Cry adaptation years ago for Tokyo Pop. They handed me the Japanese translation, and the company that was in charge, not Tokyo Pop, but the person who actually had the company that actually had the publishing rights, had a very specific kind of tone that they wanted to achieve. And they said, we want Dante to be this kind of sardonic badass. But most of the time, his dialogue, he's not taking things very seriously. He's very kind of world weary, and sarcastic. And that's what they gave me. And so I wrote to that, and then they would give me notes, and I would rewrite it based on those notes. And then it got published. And at the time, it got really good reviews. But I think it was last year, maybe. Somebody read it and came at me, like posted a thing and tagged me in it and was just talking about how terrible it was and how I butchered the character and it wasn't like the video game and et cetera, et cetera. And I just wrote back to him and I said, hey, I'm sorry you didn't enjoy it. It got good reviews at the time. People seemed to like it. The company, asked for this, and this is what I gave them. Typically it's always my feeling to go to the source material and work directly out of that, but they wanted to kind of take the manga in a little bit of a different direction. And so that's what I did. Those are the instructions that I got. And I had a back and forth with the person, and then they calmed down and, kind of de-escalated, and it ended up being a positive interaction. And I think that's what you always have to remember as a creative person is, number one, you don't know who's on the other end of that tweet. They could just be a rude asshole. But a lot of the times I've found that the people that come off kind of critical or insulting, they're actually on the spectrum. And so they don't really know exactly how they're communicating. They're being very blunt and putting their thoughts out there, but they're not like softening it or trying to be polite in any way. It's just these are my thoughts. And once you start communicating with them, you realize that. So I think it's always a bad idea to immediately jump at people and try and punch them down for daring to question your creative vision. Art is subjective, and no matter what you make, someone is going to have a differing opinion on it. And that's okay. Everybody has a different opinion. Everybody has a different take. The problem is when you make something that's universally reviled, then maybe you just did a bad job.
But it's crazy. As someone that loves these properties, and obviously you and I grew up with a lot of this stuff, is this just the era we're in where they're not going to put it in the hands of people that have reverence for the characters or the universes or have worked with them in the past? Are they just going to keep handing these things over to people that were popular 10, 15 years ago?
I think that may be the case because, a lot of the executives at the companies, a lot of the people that are in charge, a lot of the people that, oversee these IP banks, they don't have any particular love for the properties. They're not invested in the properties. They're somebody who got a job at a company because they went to school and they got a degree. And now they're in this position where they oversee these things. And to them, it's not like, who would be the best person for Darkwing Duck? It would be, hey, I sure did enjoy Sausage Party. Well, maybe I could get that guy in here. And a lot of these, you see it a lot in not only in casting, but throughout the industry. Is a lot of these people want to be connected to people that they perceive as famous because they're hoping if they work with those people, then those people can elevate them to the next position, to the next level. It's why you see a lot of voice actors get passed over for animated shows and things like that because the producers want to hobnob with celebrities. So they bring in celebrity voices. They can, and then maybe, you can get out of animation and you can get to that live action show. Maybe they can recommend you because live action pays better than animation. That's what the big animation guild fight is going on right now, is that animation writers are saying, animation is so much more intensive. Writing an animation script is much more intensive than writing a live action script. There's so many things that you have to include in that. And they're saying there's no reason why we should be getting paid so much less than live action writers. But that's kind of the goal. That's what you see with people is, they want to get out of animation into live action because it pays more. So hobnob with the celebrities, get yourself attached to somebody, and move on up.
It's just one of the unfortunate things. It does feel like pretty much anything I liked as a kid, or anything I would like to enjoy with my kids now, ends up getting butchered. I end up having to go to the old stuff anyway. Aaron, I will let you have the last word. Obviously, you're working on Young Justice right now. You've done work with Darkwing Duck in the past. Do you have any final words on or thoughts on kind of what's happening within Hollywood and in these franchises?
I just think that we need to go back to a time where care was put into these properties. You weren't just looking at it as a cash grab. Here's something with, here's a thing that was popular 30 years ago. Let's hit that nostalgia button and make some quick money. There's nothing wrong with making money. I'm a capitalist at heart, but what you want to do is you want to make these things make money perpetually. So there's no reason that you can't make Darkwing and
DC is still cashing those Watchmen checks because it's still in print.
Yes, it is. Now, and they tried to cash in on it with that HBO show, and like, let's do a continuation of Watchmen. They've tried to cash in on it a couple times by expanding it, and it's never really worked out the way that they want. It'll never be as celebrated as the source material because the things that have come out afterwards don't respect the source material. I think the closest we've gotten was Doomsday Clock, which I thought was fantastic. Other people, their opinion may differ, but I thought Jeff Johns did a fantastic job integrating.
More of a celebration of Superman than the Watchmen universe, though.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a celebration of Superman. You know what it was? It was taking the cynicism of Watchmen and then filtering Superman through that lens, and Superman still comes out as, this is the model, not this deconstruction that Watchmen was, which was great. But
that's why I liked it.
Is that's what we should aspire to, and that's what I loved about it. So I think that the more that we put properties like that in the hands of people that care, the more money that the companies will make, the longer term these properties will last, and the happier that the fans will be, and the more merch that we'll sell. And isn't that why we're all here?
Absolutely. So I do want to say thank you very much to Aaron Sparrow. Do you know when your episode's going to come on? Is it scheduled?
It's going to be next year. It's a specific arc, so I'll hype it when it comes up. I don't want to say what the arc is because I don't want to give anything away as to where things are going. But yeah, I'll definitely talk about it as it's coming up.
All right. Well, I really appreciate the time, and we'll see you next time, Aaron.
All right, man. Later, Wes.